Yeah, I think from my perspective, when you talk about open source software, it's a pretty broad category. But when I think about how it's adding value to the cloud native space, especially around application development, I think part of it is a lot of it is invented in open source communities, right? So if you think you don't have to be open source software to be cloud native, but if you look at the landscape of technologies being used, most of them are open source. And I've been at Red Hat almost 10 years now and had the opportunity to see the evolution of the open source development model. And initially the open source development model was around commoditizing existing types of technologies, right? So the operating system is probably the most popular and well known. But what you started to see probably 6-7 years ago was this pendulum swing to a lot of the technologies that are now viewed as cloud native that were created by consumer web companies or cloud providers. They're using open source technology, they're contributing it back to these communities, and then everyone is allowed to participate in it. So I think the creation of the technology itself is the biggest value add with cloud native. The second thing is I think open source has really kind of democratized it, right? So the ability for anyone now to write cloud native applications is present because of the open source development model also. So there's sort of an accessibility aspect of it that I think has been really valuable around application development. And then the last one, and this ties into some of the stuff I'm sure we'll get into around culture, but open source software has really kind of taught a lot of us how to work together differently in this new world. So even from a leadership standpoint, and because I lead the emerging technology team for our public sector group, but how we run these teams and organize to go to market with our clients is vastly different than how any business may have organized themselves 20 plus years ago. So that's another contribution I think that open source software and open source communities have given to the cloud native world, but even to the technology and business leadership world in general.